Hello and welcome back. My name is Matthew McGregor, and before we dive into anything around actually how to build your app and how to navigate the actual elements of building everything, putting it together, and all that good stuff, I need to go through upfront the do's and don'ts of Apple and Android. And the reason that I need to do this is because Apple and Android have very strict guidelines around a couple of key areas that you definitely want to pay attention to. You definitely want to make note of as you're building your app, so that when it comes time to submit your app to Apple and Android, that they are much more likely to approve it, that they are much more willing and accepting to say yes to having you on their platform, because you're essentially publishing to a service that's going to get you a lot of visibility, a lot of views, a lot of attention, and they have a reputation for success. They have a reputation for delivering, and they don't want anyone on their platform that doesn't have that reputation. So I'm just here to help you stay within their guidelines to make sure that your app gets approved and that you're well on your way towards a massive amount of success with your app. So the do's and don'ts of Apple and Android, I'm going to be just going through this article. I'm going to be reading a bunch of stuff, and then I'm going to be linking a bunch of this information right below this page so you can follow along. So if you want to follow along by looking below, I'd highly recommend doing that. So again, I'm going to be going through and then just commenting on everything so you understand. So to start off, the purpose of this article is to highlight some of the main goals you want your app to achieve, and certain roadblocks that come up while getting your app ready to be App Store compliant. Please note that Apple and Google each have fully outlined policies, and we highly recommend reading through them, and they're going to be linked below. So here's the one for Apple, and here's the one for Google, and I'm going to put that link below so that you can easily access it and check it out on your own time. So just note for us today that Apple's policies are a lot more strict than Google's, so you can generally, for the most part, you can generally use Apple's guidelines as like the general rule of thumb when designing your app. So key tips from us is first on the design. So let's start off with talking about the design. So Apple and Google place a high value on apps that are simple, refined, innovative, and easy to use, and that's why they want to see, that's like what they want to see reflected in their app stores. So your app must have a solid use or reason for users. Apple and Android want apps in their app stores that people are going to return to and use consistently. So you really want to create that really great user experience. So to kind of explain that, to kind of expand on that, basically, there's a rule in Apple and Android that it's called like minimum functionality. An app has to have some sort of minimal functionality for them to allow it onto the store. So you can't have something like a one-page website. You can't have just a bunch of links into your app, that link outside to a whole bunch of other places. They don't want just a bunch of links and a bunch of very simple content. So some do's and don'ts here to kind of give you an idea of what to do. At a high level, when you publish your app, you want to make sure that it's got enough content or enough reason for people to come back and use it consistently. All right, so do consistently update your app with new content such as articles, videos, podcasts, and more. And you can do one or multiple of these things, it doesn't matter. Set up push notifications to get users more likely to return to and use your app, and be creative and come up with something unique. Don't design an app with no reusability or minimum functionality, like I mentioned. Plagiarize or copy any current apps. So this applies to don't copy any current apps on the App Store, as well as like be very mindful and careful about don't use copyrighted content from Google. Like don't just grab a Google image and use it within your app because you don't have the copyright for that. If you want some great places for images, I'll actually link a bunch of awesome places to grab images like I love Unsplash, I love Pixabay. There's a bunch of great places for royalty-free images that you can use in your app. And don't have the main purpose of the app linked to a website. Apple and Android really want to keep the user experience inside the app for the most part, at the very least. So I hope that makes sense. I would just, in general, highly recommend you publish your app. You can test it as much as you want, but mainly just publish it when you know it's ready and when you know that there's a quality experience that people are going to be using on a consistent basis. All right, and that's super simple. I will show you my own app, most likely within the next video. So the next thing to be aware of is payments. So I'm just going to read it and then I'm going to go through it. There's many ways to monetize your app. In-app purchases are a feature that's currently in development for 22 apps, releasing closer to 2022, probably around the end of this year. This will be a way to unlock features or functionality within your app, such as having members-only content through an in-app purchase, so where they can actually purchase inside the app. Apple and Google generally don't allow purchases to be made outside the app, outside of their app using a third-party payment system, though there are a few notable exceptions, the first of which is person-to-person services. So if your app enables the purchase of real-time person-to-person services between two individuals, for example, tutoring students, medical consultations, real estate tours, fitness training, etc., and of course, this can be online over Zoom as well. Like if you do coaching over Zoom or anything like that, you may use purchase methods other than in-app purchases to collect those payments, such as linking to a website, or physical goods and services outside the app. So if there's a physical good or service that's consumed outside the app, you have to use other payment methods other than in-app purchases to collect those payments. So if you don't fall into either of these two categories, and you want to sell something digital, like for example, an online course, there is a workaround. All right. So if you want to like link over and sell an online course, mainly Apple and Google mainly don't want anything linked from your app directly to a purchase page or to a checkout page. So here there are a couple workarounds to be able to sell your content. The first of which is you can have them sign up for some sort of mailing list or join your social media, or even input in a contact section in the app where you can get their email and phone number to message you, and you'll be able to sell to them on any of these platforms. You can also alternatively link into a funnel where users can get like a free gift. Like you can give them a link into a funnel, they can get the free gift such as a video or PDF or something useful, and then that funnel can take them through to the purchase of some kind of item, whether it's a video, a webinar, some kind of sales funnel, whatever it is you're doing. It's just in general, Apple and Google will normally let this slide as long as you are not selling anything directly from the app right into the product. They generally don't like it when you're selling a digital product directly off the app without them hearing about it. So definitely take the indirect approach, and as well, it's fantastic. The reason I highly recommend it, even like in general, is because then you can capture their name and email address, and you can use that for other purposes as well outside of the app. Here's a good few guidelines to follow as you set up the monetization within your app. Do sell person-to-person services or physical products and services through a link in your website, through a website link in your app. Insert links to contact you or visit your social medias within your app. Utilize in-app purchases to unlock features for your app. So this is coming most likely at the end of this year, if not in early 2022. Don't set prices that are clear ripoffs. Don't manipulate reviews or attempt to inflate like your ranking chart unorganically, meaning like don't make a bunch of accounts and just like comment your app is awesome when it's clearly just you commenting the same thing over and over. Don't list prices within your app for a purchase that's not compliant. For example, displaying text that says $200 for my online course, that probably would get disapproved because Apple and Android's like, oh, what online course? Are you linking outside to some kind of thing like that? So, and as well, don't put links in your app that directly go to a purchase page of a digital product or a service. So, I hope that makes sense. Again, make sure that you are using some kind of funnel, follow-up sequence system that ends up converting them later down the line. Next is sensitive apps with extra conditions. This might not necessarily apply to everyone, but I'm going to explain it just so you know. So certain types of apps will have extra rules and specifications in order to make sure privacy and safety is ensured. Here's a few notable ones. Health and health research. Health and fitness and medical data, especially sensitive data, and apps in this space have some additional rules to make sure the customer privacy is protected. Most of these rules will naturally show up as you input the information about your app into the app stores, but there's a couple things you want to make sure you're aware of. Firstly, it can often help to reference a credible source for any medical or health related information that you're displaying in your app. As well as a little bit of text that says consult with your doctor before trying is always a good thing. So for the first part there is if you're making any really bold claims, like you're saying that doing this will have a substantial impact on somebody's health, make sure that you are crediting that information as to where it came from and how you kind of arrived at that conclusion is helpful for Apple to understand, oh, this is legit, rather than, oh, this person's full of it, right? And sometimes in certain situations you may add this if you're in recommending something out there in terms of health. As well as apps may not disclose to third parties gathered data in health, fitness, medical research, etc. So this is just like, in general, this is a privacy thing as well. Try not to share people's medical data with third parties. All right. That shouldn't be a problem, though. It's just a we need to say it type of thing. Kids. So for many reasons, if your app is marketed to kids, this is what this is for. For many reasons, it's critical to use care when dealing with personal data from kids. Blah blah blah, whatever. You know, all these things. There's a couple things to note. Apps not in the kids category cannot include terms in the app name, subtitle, icon, or screenshots, or any description that imply the main audience is for children. So, like if you're outside of the kids category, don't put anything in your description that could indicate that it should be for the kids category, because Apple just wants to make sure that the kids are happy with their apps that are approved for children, and then children's apps that might have different content that might not be suitable for children. This would be outside of that category, and so Apple and Android actually limit that so that kids are not able to access things that they shouldn't. So it's actually a really good thing. Just so you know, though, don't like try and appeal to kids if your app is mainly for parents. If you want to have like an app for parents and an app for kids, fantastic. Or in your marketing, like for the app name and that sort of stuff, maybe the parents download it, but there's a section in the app for kids. That's totally fine too. One of my clients is doing that where like the app is centered around the parents, but there's a whole section within the app that the kids can play and learn and do all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. And then apps intended primarily for kids should not include any third-party analytics or third-party advertising. This provides a safer experience for kids. All right. So a couple other things to note is to do with the privacy policy. This I will talk about as I get more closer to when you're actually going to be submitting your app. But basically there is, you will need to submit a privacy policy. We do have a privacy policy generator that you can take a look at and use if you so choose. Just in general, we recommend, we only say this because we have to, if you're going to be using our privacy policy generator, just make sure you get it checked out or have it reviewed as you need to, ideally by a lawyer or do whatever you want for that. And so with that said, I hope this has been valuable. I hope this has made sense when it comes to actually creating your app, it's good to be aware of a couple of these key things that are important to Apple and Android. There are other rules, so if you want to check out their links so that you can see and review any other things that might apply to your unique type of business, definitely check that out. And these are the main ones that you should generally be aware of when creating your app from the ground up. So definitely make note of that. Definitely be aware of that. And with that, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'm excited to talk all about how to use this platform, how to get the most out of it, and just build an awesome app that everybody loves. All right. So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, my friends. Bye for now.